Welcome to the Speak Like a Leader podcast with John Bates. Welcome to the show. With me today is Shelley Anderson, and she is a longtime dear friend of mine. And we've known each other, for over 12, 15 years, something like that. And she is a relatively newly minted voice actor. And we met when she was doing instructional design, which she still does as well. So I thought it would be really interesting to get her on the show and ask her about her journey, because I know that it's an interesting story and I think it may be relevant. So Shelley, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always fun to chat with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So you and people, just in case, just so I say it now so I don't forget, if you want to find Shelley online, she is at Shelley Anderson VO. That's SHELLEY, Anderson with an O, and then VO like voiceover.com. And so that's where you can find her if you want to find her while you're listening. So Shelley, we started out with instructional design, and you and your team at a place called Red Jacket West years ago.
That's right.
Brought me in and helped me create my online course, my first online course. And, that was a fabulous team. And the course that they created was freaking really good. And you got pulled in to duel with me for the part in my course where there are lightsabers. And if you haven't done my online course yet, at least you now know it has lightsabers.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. There's a reason to do it, right?
It was really, really a fun instance. I get pulled in at every space that I've worked, whether it was in the video game industry or the learning industry. I get pulled into things because I'm kind of fearless at work, and fearlessness is one of my tenets. Live with no regrets, and so they were like, "Yeah, we want to film this like lightsaber scene. Well, who can we get? Oh, I'm not going to do it. Oh, let's get Shelley in here. She'll do it." And that's how I got pulled in, and that's the first time I officially met you.
Yeah, I think you and I have that in common, that we're game for stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so let's go back and talk about instructional design in a minute. But I know that in 2017, something really big happened that changed your life. And it's kind of why you're doing, I think it is actually why you're doing what you're doing right now. Will you tell us about that?
Yeah. In 2017, I was taking my husband on a birthday trip. We had booked a heliboarding adventure in the backcountry of Colorado.
Right on.
And so there was some hiking in the morning, and then there were like 3 or 4 helicopter drop-offs set up for the afternoon. So the morning was going really well. We had prepped for this. It was at high altitude. I think you were hiking up to 10,000 and 11,000 feet and dropping in some of the steepest terrain. Now, I'm from Colorado originally. So, this was kind of a bucket list thing. Had never done heliboarding, had always wanted to. Yeah. So we were pretty psyched. And my husband we were just having a great day with our friends. I think we had a group of 10 for this adventure. So our first helicopter drop off, we had to hike up to this little knoll after the drop off. And we were all just looking down, and the guide will do a ski cut and then, point you in the direction that they want you to go. So we were going to basically head down this gully below the ski cut. Yeah. 4 of my companions had already gone, and they went down the gully and made a left around this rocky outcropping.
Uh-huh.
And we were going one at a time, like you do. You go one at a time and you watch the
Yeah.
person. And I had just been figurating my husband's lines all
Uh-huh.
day, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I was the fourth or fifth person to go. And I dropped in and I'm figurating Polly's lines, and just having a great time. And I feel the shift under my feet.
Oh,
And it
no.
felt like marbles like marbles on a cement floor.
Uh,
All of a sudden. And my first instinct is to hit a strong toe side to get out, because I've gotten out of 2 previous loose snow moments by just hitting a tight,
yeah.
strong toe side and just getting out of there.
Yeah.
So that was my instinct, was to do the same. But the guide was like, no, go right, which would be my actual
Backside
heel side
for
edge.
you. Yeah.
So I went onto heel side and boom, like the snow took me and I was just tumbling and pummeled. And what's
Oh.
interesting is you always hear about time slows down.
Yeah.
Time does slow down. And I actually had time to think. If I had one of those inflatable bags where you
Yeah.
pull the cord and the bag inflates
Yeah.
to pull you to the top of the snow, I
Yeah.
would have totally had time to think about that and do that.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. This is considering that I hadn't hit any trees at this point.
Yeah.
I knew that you had to try and swim, make a kind of a swimming motion. And that was one of the survival techniques I knew about. And I also knew that if I pinned my arm and my gloved hand over my nose and mouth, I could perhaps create a little pocket if
To
and when
breathe.
the snow stopped,
Yeah.
so that I would have a place to breathe. And all of these thoughts are going through my head. So I tried the swimming with one of my arms and I did hit a branch or a tree. And I was like, oh, okay, that hurts.
Clong. Yeah.
Pull it back in. And it's funny because I just went limp. And I practice yoga. So I just started doing deep, deep breathing, slowly in and out, just to be calm. Just keep breathing, because I figure breathing's important at this point.
Yes.
And also, I remember every time there was light in the bubble of snow, because you're tumbling like a rag doll. Your legs are getting thrown this way and that. So it really helps to be limber. I was just as limp and limber as I could be. And every time I saw light, with my free hand, I would punch towards the light. Because if the snow stopped, I wanted to have a good start on punching out to air.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so these are all the thoughts that I had time to think about.
Right.
To the others, it may have only been, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. It was about a football field length, they said, of me rolling in this ball of snow.
Yeah. Wow.
And when the snow stopped, I could see blue sky. John, I could see blue sky. And I sat up and realized I'm here and only my legs from the waist down were pinned. And I just felt like the luckiest person on the planet in that moment, as I could breathe and I could see.
Yeah. I mean, I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and people die here every year in avalanches. And last year we had a terrible number of people die in avalanches because we had so much snow. And I think we've lost a few this year already too. Yeah. So that is not something to take lightly.
No, not at all. I feel incredibly lucky. I was able to ride out, even though my knee popped. I had some MCL damage. I was able to stand up. You have all this adrenaline.
Yeah, yeah.
When the friends came down and the guide came down and did the head to toe check, and, check to see if I could stand and, kind of squatting down to see if I had the ability to move. And I was able to ride out.
Yeah.
Now, I had to immediately get my knee on ice and get elevated and rested after this adventure, but
Yeah.
it was kind of incredible. And I
Wow.
still maybe unraveling why I was spared, still kind of unraveling what to do with this, where to put this. But one of the things was really driving home, what is left to do?
Yeah.
What do you want to do that you haven't done?
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of travel, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
But voice acting was a thing that I had always wanted to do since I was a child.
Uh-huh.
I grew up alone in the woods, and I had lots of characters, and I made all of these crazy characters to like keep me entertained as an only child in the woods.
That's awesome.
So that has been more of a catalyst to start the journey and get going and start learning about voice acting.
Well, so you've been doing it for a while now, though.
Well,
So
yeah.
some ways you're new to it, but in some ways you've been doing it for quite a while now.
Right. So the study of it, I had no idea how involved the study and ear training.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on the stage, and stage acting is not what you want to do for voice acting. It's much more subtle.
Yeah. Voice acting has to be, huh?
And I am not subtle. So I had to, it's almost like coming from radio. I had to really relearn how to approach scripts in a different way, in a more real and grounded way.
Yeah. It's funny because I had a friend on whom I told you about, who's a voice actor in LA and very, very successful, named Larry Hudson. It was a great interview. And one of the things that he said was that people come to Hollywood all the time with these silky, beautiful, awesome voices, and they think they're just going to crush it in voice acting. And that's not actually the most important thing. Like, it certainly helps, to have a beautiful voice, a distinctive voice, like that's very helpful. But he said the main thing in being a voice actor is being able to convey meaning. And that just was, I was like, boom, same thing for when you're a public speaker or when you're a leader speaking to your team, like that ability to convey the meaning that you want to convey versus just, saying it or having a nice voice and just saying it, but not really landing it over there.
And the connectedness and also the vulnerability that you really want that to come through, if at all possible. And if you watch the trends, so you have to train your ear and also watch the trends without being really sucked into them.
Yeah.
A lot of the trends these days are very untrained because the people who are spending money, the people who are buying these products, they don't want to be sold to anymore.
Right.
So that's another thing.
So how do you deal with that? What does that make you do and think differently when you're doing your voiceover stuff?
That's a really good question. Lately, what I've been trying to do is do less.
Yeah.
Do less. I tend to be very physical, and when I'm moving around and saying stuff, see what it does to my voice. It makes it a little too crazy. So I've been trying to, like, some people need to do that to get to the emotion, but I have to pull it way, way, way back. So I've been trying to be in a relaxed state and just, hey, here's this thing, and you should try it.
Yeah.
It might change what you thought. I'm really trying to be relaxed. And so I get into this more relaxed, grounded place. And that's what I've been really working on lately.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing for someone in a leadership position to try, is just being relaxed and grounded when you're
Mm,
speaking to your team or when you're, in some kind of a public communication forum.
absolutely. And I have learned so much through your programs, through other leadership programs like Let's Grow Leaders with Karen
Uh-huh.
Hurt and David Dye.
Uh-huh.
I would actually teach differently. I would actually bring what I've learned about that vulnerability and, that the listening skills
Yeah.
into the classroom. Um, because I taught for a number of years. I taught graphic design at the college
Yeah.
level, and I had a
Mm-hmm.
great time and I had great reviews, good student relationships. But wow, if I could go back to teaching, knowing what I know now from
Yeah.
what you have been talking about, how to connect, how to really connect, it would be a game changer. So I
Yeah.
do hope that I have the opportunity to teach again in some
Yeah.
way. Hmm.
Yeah. That's cool. So what are some of the other insights that you have had from your your foray into voice acting that could be useful for leaders and speakers and things like that?
The biggest insight I've had in the past couple of years, in fact, I'm working on a painting about it, is reach out to people. There's a community of people out there that can provide support, be accountability buddies with you if you
Yeah.
need to send out a bunch of marketing emails and you're just dreading
Yeah.
doing the thing. Go to a coffee shop with another friend. And,
Yeah.
you know, during COVID, we had this online community of people on Discord and other Zoom groups that we would get into.
Yeah.
And we could talk about our journey with one another. And what's so beautiful about it is how diverse the group is. And when we
Mm.
finally met for the first time in Los Angeles at the Silvis Award ceremony,
Uh-huh.
um, and we had some classes and workshops together, we literally were in tears because a lot of us were meeting for the first time
Yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
person. And that is you're not alone. There are
Yeah.
others going through what you're going through, whether it's like, you know, how do I handle this? I've got an underperforming employee. My friend was just the other day saying, and I've got to chat with this person.
Yeah.
How do I handle this? This sucks.
Yeah.
There's a whole community of people out there with tools and ways of approaching this and ways to make them feel heard and
Yeah.
allow them to be heard, but also to get across what you need to get across.
Yeah.
So,
It makes me think about something that has been crossing my mind lately, is that I don't think we fully understand or realize how much we've lost because of COVID and that whole time period, and how much it upended things. And I think that we all feel it, but I don't think that we talk about it enough. And I don't think that uh, anybody has really any idea what exactly is going on, right now. And I just think that being together and being around other people and getting together in person, it's so much more important than I think we even realize. And I think a lot of people realized it was important. Like, I get that. I'm not, I know that people said that, but I don't think that we fully realize just how much we have stopped hanging out with, like, COVID and the political climate and all the other things. And I think that intentional community and intentionally being around other human beings is just so important. And it's
mhm.
gotten harder.
It has. Some things didn't get rolling again, which is disappointing in many ways. Some friendships didn't get rolling again, that I've had personally. Um, but, some of the good things that came out of that is people sought community
Yeah.
during that time. There was a young man from the Bay Area who started this drawing group. He goes by Witchlight on Instagram if anyone's interested in looking him up. But he started this drawing community, and we would meet on Sundays for 2 hours on Zoom. And he would have little prompts, and we would do sketches, and then we'd display our sketches to one another. Just different ways that people created community during that time. So some of those things were pretty sweet,
Yeah.
that came out of that.
Yeah.
But some things have gone by the wayside. And it'll be interesting to see how people bring them back.
Yeah.
But also, I felt like I was just way too busy before. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very intentional about what I bring back in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I think it's a smart idea. And I think that for a lot of people, it certainly led to a reevaluation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a little bit like an avalanche for the world.
Yeah. That not all of us survive.
No, not all of us survived. No. Well, so you also do instructional design, and you've taught and things like that. So are there any parallels between instructional design and voiceover that you've been noticing, or any crossover of stuff for you in that world?
There is quite a bit of crossover in the sense that when I need to do a quick explainer video of how to use this tool, I can just bust out the voiceover and show how to use the tool using Camtasia. Or I can write a storyboard if something needs to be animated. I can write a storyboard of a quick, 1 minute explanation of a concept. Like if I feel that the concept would be better told visually than read, then I can, create the VO track, send it over to the team, and they can put together an animation based on that. So I do get an opportunity as an instructional designer to use the voice acting. I think what I'd like to see more of in instructional design is more interesting, compelling explainer videos.
Yeah.
There's some pretty good stuff out there on YouTube that you can stumble upon.
Yeah.
But I think when I end up in the corporate world and you're describing processes or even compliance,
Right.
that you have, that has to be done and you have to do. Can we just be real? Can we just make these a little more fun? And this is where people way more talented than myself, who are writers, who are almost, sketch comedy writers.
Right.
If they could also write this kind of material, we could, make people feel at ease about it and just, lay it out there. Be like, yeah, I know you have to take this, you have to take this compliance stuff every year or every quarter.
Yeah.
But here's why.
You're back again? It's only been one quarter.
Connect what to why, but also can we be real about it?
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that. But I definitely haven't necessarily had the courage to do that. I'm not a writer. I'm very good at getting things done. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm very good at getting things done on a production level. So finding people to collaborate with who are interested in doing that too would be just amazing. Amazing. Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the, it's a very interesting special angle on the corporate world that you have. What are some of the things or trends or similarities that you're noticing between your different voiceover clients and what they're doing with voiceover and video and things like that?
Well, I don't know. There's always going to be the corporate anthem type of
Uh-huh.
a read. It's where you're talking about everything the company has done
Yeah.
is great, and we're
Yeah.
striving, and we're going to get there. We're going to reach the
Right.
pinnacle.
Like the
There's
little Delta thing before your movie on the airplane, right?
yeah, there's always kind of these like sort of inspirational. Those are pretty standard across the board.
Uh-huh.
But I have been noticing some scripts of, where people are breaking the fourth wall, so to speak,
Uh-huh.
where they almost have like a little aside to the audience. Um,
Uh-huh.
so there's been more scripts with sort of breaking the fourth wall
So
and
like everything the company does is fantastic, except that one time when we did kind of screw that thing up. But otherwise, everything is
yes.
fantastic.
Yes. So I like that. That's a fun thing to watch.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've never really gotten a foothold in the corporate environment. It's
Hmm.
really strange. I almost think that it keeps spitting me out. Like I'm not supposed to be there.
Well,
Um,
but I mean, across your clients, I don't mean to drag you into the corporate world, just across your clients in general, because I guess one place that this question is kind of coming from is that I just think that explainer videos and short form videos and video on your website and video in your social media, like people can't really get away without that anymore. Like, I think that video is enormously important, and I just see video every place. So, what are you noticing? Any interesting trends or changes or what, because there's certainly AI videos, which I think are super obvious, and
mhm.
they're kind of okay for really functional stuff, but I don't think that, I think that they certainly don't get the inflection right and stuff.
They don't always get the inflection right, nor do they emphasize the specific parts
They
of
don't
the.
convey meaning.
Yeah, they don't convey
Yeah.
the
Well,
important parts or the meaning well. So the AI is part of this trend to make fast and get things done quickly.
yeah.
Because people have recognized video is king and it's so important.
Yeah.
I have noticed on the one hand, there's been a degradation of quality out there.
Yeah.
There's lower budgets. There's going to be less quality and less production value.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, occasionally that can lend itself to some real spontaneity when they use real humans.
Yeah.
I think it's doing people, especially in the learning industry, e-learning, it's doing people a disservice to use the AI
Yeah.
because people tune out
Yeah.
and retention, you're going to lose them.
Yeah.
Retention is going by the wayside. And you have to decide, well, how important do we need them to retain this info? Or are we
Yeah.
just throwing something out there that they can refer back to anytime they forget how to do the thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think that, the degradation of quality, you see it as people were reaching for a more genuine approach to their
Uh-huh.
video content.
Yeah.
Don't be so attached to the
Yeah.
production value.
Yeah.
Just get it out there. Just get yourself out there.
Yeah.
But that, degradation of quality has had some negative
Yeah.
impact as
I
well.
don't think it can make it so that you can stand out if you have just a little bit higher production quality, higher standards, and still make it very real, still make it very approachable, but just higher quality, and then all of a sudden it's got all the upsides of the less produced thing, but it also has the upsides of the more produced thing.
It's funny because I've had these conversations with clients before. I was like, so what level of production value are you looking for? And I talk about, well, here's level 1, here's level 2, and here's what level 3 might be.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into a conversation about, well, what's the budget, the total
Yeah.
budget on this project? And I think people are always a little surprised
Yeah.
by how, how much it's going to cost to do really high quality work.
Yeah.
So there's always that you have to
Well,
weigh.
I mean, look at movies, right? Like to make a really high quality movie, it costs a lot of money and it is a lot of work. And then it's just an hour and a half of pure fun and excitement. But that took sometimes years, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's going to be played over and over and over ad infinitum. And that's why they spend so much money making movies really good, right? Because we'll still go by. Like I just watched Men in Black with my son, what a fabulous, fabulous freaking movie. And, that is an old movie now,
It's a fun,
but people are still watching it. What's that?
That's a fun old movie.
Fun. Yeah, it was really fun.
But
And
that. Oh, I was just
2 and
say,
3 were pretty good too. I got to say, I think three was better than I expected because everybody panned 3, but I thought it was actually really good.
I loved all of them.
Yeah, we haven't watched International yet. We're going to watch that next.
Anytime space creatures are involved, I'm in.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They were ahead of their time with all the UFO stuff.
Yeah. I was gonna mention when you're talking about movie and video quality, you have, I think what really kind of broke through the noise with, oh, hey, you could do this too, was Clerks. But the reason that Clerks may have been really, really resonating with people is kind of the genuine quality about it. It was kind of low budget and the way it was made. But again, those are real humans being really genuine.
Yeah.
So I think people need to remember to differentiate. If you're going for low budget, that doesn't necessarily mean that AI is the answer. I have not experimented yet with the AI animation tools out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, render an eagle soaring through the sky, landing in a tree. Like I haven't experimented with those prompts yet.
Yeah.
And I need to, because I think it's important for us in the industry is to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
To understand it and get ahead of it.
It's definitely here.
Yeah.
6 fingers and all.
So let's see if we can learn how to manipulate it, but not stray from the realness, the connectedness.
Yeah.
How do we use it?
I mean, I think that, you're definitely speaking my language, vulnerability and connection and all that stuff is really important. And I think there's a use for AI in the voiceover arena for the stuff that you said, just like if it's just a reference and it's just going to sit somewhere most of the time. But I think that it'll be interesting when AI can actually read stuff with feeling. That will be a strange moment. It's already smarter than we are. It already passed us on basic IQ. So, I don't know if I'm as excited about that as a lot of people are, but it's an interesting part of our time.
Yeah, it's the Wild West of AI right now.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
So, what are some anything else that I didn't ask you? Because I love your background in instructional design, and I think that your voiceover work is so interesting, and it's in the fact that you need to convey meaning, and in instructional design, you need to convey, the instruction. And so anything I didn't ask you when it comes to communicating with human beings and leading human beings and stuff like that?
Well, you taught me well.
Oh, you're sweet.
I learned a lot from you and working with your content. As far as instructional design is going, it's interesting that there are companies out there that do nothing but instructional design, and they build courses for people. And there's some pretty big companies out there doing that now. I think I got into it in the early days when there weren't as many, and I think there was kind of a big explosion of companies, little companies doing that in the industry. And then
Yeah.
there's the inevitable implosion where
Yeah.
there's just too many companies, not enough consumer dollars.
Yeah.
And now there's shuffled out.
Yeah.
So there are a few that seem to be doing a really good job with that.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know what's going to happen in that industry. It's also been interesting to watch the return of people to office buildings. And that's probably
Sort of.
another entirely other conversation that we could
Mhm.
have, where companies have invested a lot in office spaces and bringing people together. And there is some spontaneous brainstorming that can occur when people are working in person.
Yeah.
But there's also production time where you just need to be productive
Yeah.
and not be disturbed. And all of that, I think, could be done from home. I'm not a huge proponent of bring everyone back to the office. I,
Mhm.
there are some creative industries where that kind of you know, that that kind of creative juice
Yeah.
needs to happen in a group setting where you're able to throw ideas off of one another.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a necessary thing to have all the time.
Yeah.
So I hope that people are rethinking how they do business and what is necessary.
Yeah.
I think the 8-hour day is kind of crap. I think people
It's-
can be more productive in like chunks,
Yeah.
and they have certain things they want to achieve in that day. And if they achieve it in 4 hours, great.
Yeah.
I think forcing people to sit through 8, 10-hour days just
Yeah.
looking productive is unproductive.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of science that would back you up on that.
So I think it'll be interesting to see how people are maybe, maybe there are some shifts happening after COVID. Do you feel
Yeah.
that? Because you definitely work with a lot more companies and you
Yeah. I
see
mean,
people.
I feel I feel the loss of the center in the everybody's working from home thing. And I feel like everybody really likes working from home, and they feel like there's been a little bit of a loss of center.
Mhm.
There's like everybody's so spread out and everybody's doing their thing, and that's very, very nice. And it is harder to build team cohesion and things like that. And
Mhm.
in the world of instructional design, I think the other thing that's been pretty interesting is the rise of this creator economy with platforms like Kajabi and Teachable and all of those. And that probably played into this, just kind of the bottom falling out of the instructional design field the way that it did a little while ago. And some people came back, some people made it through that, but I've also noticed just the rise of the sheer number of online courses and things like that. So I think that as always, there's room at the top for the best, right? There's always room at the top.
Mhm. That is so true. There'll be it's just interesting to watch, don't you think?
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. And I feel like, you know, personally, and kind of from what I'm hearing, we're talking in end of March 2024. I feel like 2024 is kind of a crawling out of the crater of 2022 and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I hope so. You know,
I really hope so too.
a lot
I
of what you're doing too is working with almost retraining people how to be in the
Yeah.
space with others, because
Yeah.
some of us lost that practice. I started back with improv after many years. I don't think I've
Uh-huh.
done improv since college, and part
Yeah.
of that was the desire to get used to being in front of people again, being
Yeah.
around people again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was a lot of anxiety as people started getting together again. And I think that learning how to be together virtually is also something that people are still very confused about and not doing very well and trying to work out.
Mhm.
You know, going to these Zoom meetings where half the people are not on the screen and, you know, like everybody thinks they're playing Candy Crush during the business meeting. And, you know, Candy Crush is maybe a little outdated, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that there's still a lot of stuff that we're working out that, that we'll just have to work out.
Yeah. And another thing of coming back out and crawling back out into this world is, where everybody's talking about, imposter syndrome and not feeling like,
Yes.
there's, people not feeling like they fit in. I never
Yeah.
felt like I fit in
No one
ever.
ever does. Like even the people that you think they fit in
They
don't
don't
think
think
they
they fit
actually fit
in.
in,
Yeah.
right?
And it's, what's been really interesting is this December, I won the Silvis Award for the Outstanding Commercial Demo.
Yeah,
And
congratulations.
thank you.
That's
Thank you.
that's huge.
That was a really great honor. And also, it's kind of feeding into that nudge of the imposter syndrome.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, it was affirming. At the same
Yeah.
time, it was very affirming. Like, okay, all the hard work that I've done in the
Yeah.
years leading up to this is
Yeah.
paying off. I'm
Yeah.
clearly doing something right. So
Mm-hmm.
that's good news. But also, you know, I still feel like I'm very much a beginner and trying to get a
Yeah.
seat at the table.
Yeah.
And I feel like, oh, okay, well, how do I get in there?
Yeah.
How do I get recurring clients? How do
Yeah.
I get a seat at the table is just a really, really tough thing in the VO industry.
Yeah.
Reward or no award.
Yeah. 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 Well, but think of the people that didn't get the award that are looking at you thinking you've got it all figured out, right?
Yes, exactly. They think I'm in the in crowd now. And the truth
Yeah.
is, I definitely do not feel like I'm on the in crowd.
Right. Right. Well, I think that's a little bit part of the human condition, you know? Like it's just how it is. We want to belong and we're always a little bit unsure if we do. But I think that it is, on just I think that there is some value to you just acknowledging yourself for winning that award and getting that, like imposter syndrome or not, somebody thinks that you're good. And so you might as well just go be good, right?
I got to keep going. It
Yeah.
definitely is feeding just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep doing those auditions. Just keep sending out those marketing emails.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, ShelleyAndersonVO.com, Shelley with an EY. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and thanks for being in my lightsaber scene all those many years ago. And
That was
thanks for
so
the
fun.
long years of friendship as well.
Yeah, I really appreciate you as well. And I look forward to seeing what both of us are able to do and can do next and will do. That's going to be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And I'm glad you survived the avalanche.
Me too.
What
Thank you.
what a wake up call. So I think, that's maybe the thing that we should leave folks with is, you don't have to wait till you're almost killed to realize that, it's this whole thing's finite and what is it you want to do, right? Like you only live once. What do you want to do while you're still here, as you said?
All you have to do is get started. You just have to start.
Yeah.
I think that's the toughest thing for people.
Yeah.
Just start.
Yeah. Go with 0 to 1, right? Like that's infinity from 0 to 1.
That's
And
so
then
true.
after 1, like you're rolling.
You're rolling. I mean, that's it. I'm rolling.
Yep.
Which is an amazing thing to know.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, Shelley, thank you. And
thank you.
Appreciate you coming. And to those of you listening, thank you for joining us. And we'll hear you next time on livelikealeader.show.
Thank you for joining the Speak Like a Leader podcast. Go be awesome.